putting the off the field stuff aside, which, by the way, Fran Brown does a terrific job with Syracuse football as far as off the field is concerned. The ultimate job of a head coach is to win football games. That's what Fran Brown is ultimately paid to do. He is paid to win football games for Syracuse football. And so far, it's been a little less than 2 years. Fran Brown has a record of 13-10 for Syracuse football. And by the end of this season, his record will likely be either 13-12 or 14-11. Because they're going to most likely lose at Notre Dame after the bye week this week. And then who knows what happens in the final game of the regular season against Boston College. He's either going to be 13-12 or 14-11 by season's end. That record may not be amazing. It may not sound great, even though for Syracuse football in a 2-year span, winning 13 games is actually not bad. Fran Brown's actually a lot better than that. When Fran Brown is given adequate quarterback play, he has demonstrated that he can win a lot of games with Syracuse football. And by the way, that's most coaches in all of football. I mean, think about Bill Belichick's record without Tom Brady in his life. You want to go look at his record with the Cleveland Browns when he was the head coach? You want to see how he's doing right now with North Carolina as far as their record is concerned? Even for the greatest football minds out there, it's hard to win games when your quarterback is simply not very good, when you consistently have the second best quarterback playing for you in a game. Fran Brown, when he has good quarterback play, is 13-4 as the Syracuse football head coach. There's a reason why after the Clemson game, a lot of publications out there were saying that Fran Brown was going to be the hottest name in the next head coaching cycle. Because 13-4 at Syracuse is highly, highly impressive in this era. I mean, you have to go back a long time ago to find a 2-year period where Syracuse at any point was really 13-4. Not easy to do at Syracuse. In 2024, Syracuse went 9-3 in the regular season. They had a few ranked wins against Georgia Tech, UNLV on the road, and of course, he ended the season with a victory over Miami at home, a 21-point comeback win. And of course, they won the Holiday Bowl for the 10th win of the season. Fast forward to 2025, Syracuse was 3-1 when Steve Angeli was the starting quarterback. They had a somewhat competitive loss to Tennessee. Really, it was the first quarter that did them in. They were down 17-0. They tried to, they kept fighting throughout the game. They didn't play poorly. I was actually pretty encouraged following that one, but you have a bad start against a good Tennessee team in Atlanta when it's mostly Tennessee fans anyway. Very hard to overcome that. And that was the first game of the year. Second game of the year, they had that comeback win against UConn, which at the time we just thought was a breath of fresh air because Syracuse could not afford to lose to UConn at home. But hindsight is 2020. Maybe that win doesn't look as bad as what it seemed to be at the time, considering that UConn has actually had a really good year this season. And I don't know, they just beat the Duke Blue Devils, who spanked Syracuse in the Dome weeks ago. Over a month ago, I should say. And then after UConn, of course, they take care of business against Colgate. And then they stun college football by not only beating Clemson. When Steve Angeli was in the game for Syracuse against Clemson, they were dominating that game. It was not even a fair fight in favor of Syracuse. I think it's safe to say, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that Syracuse football was on its way to having a really strong 2025 season, but then Steve Angeli goes down with an injury. And I'm sorry, like I said earlier in the show, it's very difficult for these coaches to win with the quarterback play that Syracuse is currently getting right now. Ricky Collins has appeared in 7 games this season for Syracuse. He has a 53% completion percentage, a little over 1,000 passing yards, and he's got 6 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. That is not a good touchdown to interception ratio. Not at all. Now, we can get on Fran Brown for bringing in Ricky Collins. That was certainly a mistake. But as far as the games itself, what coach out there is winning a lot of games with that quarterback play? 6 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. You also combine it with the fact that the roster in general is not good enough to be able to overcome that bad of quarterback play. What's the translation behind all of that? Ricky Collins and whomever is starting at quarterback, whether it was Joe Filardi for one game against North Carolina, is making Fran Brown look worse than he actually is. Fran Brown is 13-4 as the Syracuse football head coach when he's got competent quarterback play. 13-4. So Fran Brown has already demonstrated at Syracuse that he can win a lot of football games with this team. What's the ceiling for Syracuse football with Fran Brown as the head coach? Time will tell. We don't know that for sure. Can they compete one day for an ACC title? Can they make the college football playoff? Will they ever get to the point where they can seriously compete for a national title? I think that's unlikely that they can get to that point for a national championship, but I don't think it's completely out of the realm of the possibility that Syracuse could sneak into a college football playoff one year with Fran Brown, especially because the college football playoff is probably going to expand. Right now, it's 12 teams. By next year, it might be 16 or 14. Who knows? But Fran Brown has a strong record with Syracuse football when he has a quarterback that can actually run an offense.